So this horse, you might have heard of him.
Oh, Frankie.
Happens to be in a different league.
Ranking it's a bit like doing top boxers and being like, where do we put Muhammad Ali?
What Frankel done winning the Guineas by that margin was box office. Are we saying that my board is right?
Hello and welcome to Inside Track, the debate brought to you by William Hill. And on this week's episode, we're going to be ranking the top 5 all-time milers. My name is Kate Tracy, and joining me to help sort through this 5 horses is Louis Stewart, William Hill Island Ambassador Jane Mangan, and Ross Briley. So guys, the 5 horses I want you to rank are Frankel, Rock of Gibraltar, Brigadier Gerard, Henrythenavigator and Goldikova. So you've got your whiteboards, off you go. Right guys, have we got the 5 horses sorted in order to reveal in 3, 2, 1? Oh, okay. Jane's got extra graphics detail going on here. Goldikova is number 1, Ross Briley. Louis, who have you got as number 1? Okay, ideal, agreement.
Oh, poor Henry.
I know, poor Henry is...
Poor Henry.
Yeah, so Frankel... Okay, Jane, just start to explain what's going on here.
Yeah. So just to clarify, these are the best milers, not what's the best horse, who's the best horse. So this horse, you might have heard of him.
Oh, Frankie.
Happens to be in a different league to anything. So I felt it was just superfluous to rank him 1, 2, 3 or 4. I think if he won over 6 or a mile and a half, he was just a freak. Brigadier Gerard, I wasn't around, but what was his record? 17, 18 wins?
17.
Yep.
Classics.
17 of his 18.
All of the major Group 1s that probably weren't even Group 1s when he was winning them. I think we're all guilty of recency bias. Legendary horse. Even I know that. Rock of Gibraltar may have been... So the difference between Rock of Gibraltar and Goldikova, not in terms of ability, was their gender. She stayed in training. She won 14 Group 1s. He was probably the more talented, but he was retired stud. There was also the allure of the red colours and the argument that also added to it. But he had brilliance over the mile, and he was tested. He ran consistently throughout that season, and he didn't let him down. And I was actually in Ballydoyle the year Henrythenavigator and Johnny Murtagh lit up that season. They had a great year. He's a good horse, but I think we can all generalise that he just wasn't great.
At the peak of the rest of them. And again, this is a difficult list to sort through. Henrythenavigator, he's in this top 5 for a reason, but Ross, we do...
What's the reason?
would you have him ahead of Canford Cliffs?
No, possibly not.
He was the omission, I think. We briefly touched upon this earlier on, didn't we, when we were talking about Richard Hannon's...
Even Bailly to be up there, wouldn't he? Again, challenging him maybe on the heels.
But there's always horses you leave out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always
partly I put... That's how far Goldikova beat Henrythenavigator when they met, I think. So it's partly to do with that. But I agree. Ranking top... It's a bit like doing top boxers and being like, where do we put Muhammad Ali? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's Muhammad Ali and then everybody else. Yeah. So there is a bit of that. Yeah. But that's why I put Goldikova one, because she was a pure miler and did it time and time again. She dropped back to 7th. Thought, I'll give 7 a go. I'll win a Group 1, beat Paco Boy, who was probably the best 7 furlong horse around at that time. Maybe I'll step up to 9. Cirrus des Eagles. Yeah, I'll beat him. Yeah, I know he's a Champion Stakes, legend, and he's a proper 10 furlong horse. But I'm a miler, and I'll do France. I'll do Britain. I'll pop over to America. I'm not just a one. Sometimes you win a Breeders' Cup race in Spiral, for example. Like you said, was it the track? Was it that year? To go over there, not only to win 3 races at the Breeders' Cup, and I know our turf horses are better, and it probably wasn't as difficult as winning some other races at the Breeders' Cup, but to do it, not only to be sound for 3 years running, to get to the race, to have no issues whatsoever, and still pull out monumental performances time and time and time again for years and years. You're right. If Rock of Gibraltar had a couple of seasons extra as well, he probably would have matched the achievements of her. But we're judging. But there's if buts and maybes all over the shop. Goldikova turned up every single time. Soft ground, fast ground, right under track, straight track, left under track. You name it, she did it, and.
I think that's a characteristic with fillies as well, because they don't have that commercial risk attached to them, that you can campaign them more ambitiously.
Yep.
I always recall minding going from the Guineas up to win at a mile and a half and then beating Ribchester back in the QE2 over a mile. There's no way you do that with a colt.
Yeah, and you're right.
If year-old year.
And if someone was going to buy Goldikova to breed, you're thinking she's worth $1 million, and then a few of the foals. Whereas, like you said, you get a top class mile sire, and it's.
They also had the luxury of racing her on because they're not thinking of we'll get such amount of money for her foal. We are going to enjoy her at the races, and that's what they did. And she also had that characteristic. She was a real tough lady mentally, a bit like Honeysuckle. You go into the stable and she might give you her tail instead of her head. But it's not an insult to her that they're ranked this way. All of these horses are fantastic, and I'm a huge fan of the mare and the way she was campaigned. But I just think in that year, had they met, I'd back him.
Whose class would have come to the fore then?
When they were all at their prime, who would have beaten who?
If you lined them up, so you would comfortably say that Rocket Gibraltar.
I would say Mick Canaan might just edge out Olivier.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know, because there was time.
I like Goldikova.
She was remarkable. I mean, she really was.
Yeah. But like I say, it's for that longevity though as well, Lou. So I guess part of these lists and when we're doing this show and how we're ranking them, we all have a different approach to that, whether or not it's the class angle. If you lined them all up against each other at their prime, who's going to prevail, who had the most longevity, whose record or CV has the most to it. So in terms of ranking, how did you view this?
I mean, from my personal, I guess, experience, I'm going more off era. I know Jane probably doesn't like me to say that, but I think what Frankel done winning the Guineas by that margin was box office.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't happen. That probably will never happen again. St James's Palace again, like box office, everything, the Sussex, everything he done was just exceptional. It was never like
It's over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got his own board entirely.
He's got a different board.
Yeah.
Frankel
Himself and See the Stars are over there.
I'll see the stars in
Yeah.
with Frankel. Who would you choose between the pair of those two?
I didn't set myself up for that question.
Oh, I did though.
Yeah.
I set you up for it though.
They're on a different board.
Maybe that's it.
They've got their own board.
The
They've got
board is
their own-
wide
yeah.
enough for both their names.
For See the Stars and Frankel on their own little board. See the Stars we haven't got in this one, of course, then for the milers. But Frankel, though, he's the set apart. Then.
Yeah, it's just even like the little stories you hear about how he was as a 2-year-old. He was just a freak of nature. Like when everyone says he was.
Could have won the July Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have won the Derby if he settled.
Yes.
I mean, he could have won a Queen
Regardless,
Alexandra,
yeah,
couldn't he?
Yeah.
Could have won the Grand National if he was.
Yeah.
You can't knock
I
his
would have backed him
mile
for the
form
Ida.
either, though. Like as a miler, he was brilliant.
You talk about that Guineas. That is the most. If you were to say to someone, what makes a sort of a freak racehorse, you'd say, watch this.
Yes.
And I think most people would say, well, he's gone off a bit quick, isn't he? Why is he so far ahead of the rest?
Who's his pacemaker?
Or do what we all did. Is that the pacemaker?
Yeah, that's what everyone was.
Does the pacemaker know Frankel's there?
Yeah. Pacemaker's
exactly.
left the field. Is he's not doing it? Oh, that is Tom
But
Peavy.
even
Yes.
at Ascot, when Tom sent him 3.5 down,
Yeah.
That was
a horse
one of the
cannot
least
do that.
efficient rides I think I've ever
A horse
seen.
cannot maintain that speed for that long.
No.
It was just unheard of. Like
Yeah.
Kieran Fallon always used to say, a furlong and a half maximum can a horse run at top flight. He done it for 3 furlongs.
Yeah.
And he still couldn't get
And also
beat.
gunning around the Ascot Bend as well, which is, takes gas out of any horse. But the best thing about Frankel, though, is that he almost he was almost like a racehorse mentor. Anything that finished him behind him got better. The Acceleration, you say Camford Cliffs, even in that Ascot race, Zoffany, like every horse that got beat behind Frankel went, we're going to have to up our game here.
Yeah.
And then they upped their game and got beat again. But,
By him again, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, and this is how do you rank them? Because part of it is if you took the horse out that's on the list, who would from that era would replace them?
Yes.
And Acceleration will be on here as a multiple Group 1 winner, and I think that's the sign of a
We've said
champion as
Comfort
well.
Cliffs as well. So yeah, of all
Acceleration, I think, is better than he should be ahead of the Navigator.
he's going to be
Don't say that to Jane.
you're also eligibles then as well.
I would also, before we stop, we need to stop eulogising about Frankel because everybody at home knows this already. But we'll probably never see his like again because even if there's a horse of the same level of ability, which is extremely unlikely, but even if there is, they won't race as erratically as he did. They won't burn like he did over the mile at Newmarket. And that really just visually blew us away.
Yeah, from the visual perspective, the form in behind.
We'll be watching that forever. Whereas I've seen replays of Brigadier Gerard,
Yeah.
but I've never been that blown away.
No, I can't quote the commentary as such that everyone can quote that Frankel Guineas success.
I mean, when I was just...
They're passing the bushes.
Yeah. And no one knew what the bushes was until basically that commentary. I was like, what? I can't see any bushes.
Did Brigadier Gerard catch a train? I mean, trains were probably slower back then. That's probably not as impressive.
But Brigadier Gerard, are we doing him a bit of a disservice here, Ross? I mean, Lou,
No, you are.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
We're not.
I couldn't decide Rock of Gibraltar or Brigadier Gerard. I think it was the story for Rock of Gibraltar why I was sort of drawn to him more so. But I mean, Ross, am I doing Brigadier Gerard then a bit of a disservice having him as 3?
You were saying about your recency bias, and that's part of the problem. Is it is quite hard to.
You're just so young.
Not feeling it. It's more to the point.
Why did you pick Rock of Gibraltar?
Because of the story that goes with it. And it is also the era bias, isn't it? I was having this debate, as I said, again, another job before I came here, with The Office. And I was put right by Jamie Lynch himself, and who, of course, is the man to be asking for these types of things. When I said to him, who do I have, Rock of Gibraltar or Brigadier Gerard? He had Brigadier Gerard over Rock of Gibraltar. But Rock of Gibraltar, he just had more storyline to him. I felt like I knew him better.
Was he the best miler?
No, but I'm not necessarily ranking that. Bar Frankel.
Are you picking him because he was owned by
So when are we doing the best milers show?
So you don't know.
Yeah, there you go. That's the most
Jane.
the most underused phrase there.
I mean,
I couldn't split them basically, but
you're basically reading
bias.
Well, you read Brigadier Gerard. You're reading eulogies in books, and you're taking it's second-hand opinion, isn't it? Partly, which is part.
I think in that era it's probably more easy to dominate. To dominate that field.
Possibly. But again, I mean, if you say to people, name a racehorse, I think Brigadier Gerard, Mill Reef, that era, they would be fairly quickly. But then most people... Do you think
someone could dominate like that in this era?
Over the mile, yeah, because they're not very good.
Who's it going to be? Who would you say?
I'm just waiting to see my... Oh, there you go.
That's what you wanted to do.
Can I just show the camera what Jane has done to my list? See, Jane is one for the extra detail on these lists, and she very much takes it upon herself for her own board. But now it has transpired that she's going to start detailing on other people's boards as well. A dead heat for second between Rock of Gibraltar and Brigadier Gerard. I should really be able to split them, but for various different reasons, ability probably Brigadier Gerard, Rock of Gibraltar for everything else that went with him, and the fact I
mean, the thing is, Brigadier Gerard, and it'll be interesting if in 20, 30 years people are saying, oh, will you stop banging on about how good Frankel was? yeah, we've seen the videos, but you don't understand how it felt when he kicked clear at anybody. All right, granddads, chill out. So there's going to be a bit of that, and you're right, there's a lot, we've got a lot more racehorses, we've got a lot more racers now. Are they as good now? Oh, there's just more of them. It's quantity.
But they don't run as frequently as he did. And I will have to say that's the one drawback of the modern day thoroughbred. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They are not faster, but they're more refined and they're more fragile. We know from the amount of runs. If you take the average number of runs for the stallion standing at stud, it is dropping decade on decade. Yeah. And we're breeding from them. And then is it a surprise that trend continues?
I'm waiting for a horse to bolt up by 5 lengths on his novice and go and immediately retire.
So are we saying that my board is right?
So Brigadier Gerard...
No, I'll say my board's right.
Jane, I'm saying mine is now right from this.
I think what we're explaining is my board is spot on.
I think the people at home need to vote.
Yeah, need to vote on these. But if we're saying...
This is by in the sense of...
Why is Goldikova at the top again for you?
Because she just kept...
Jesus, he harped on for 10 minutes.
Hang on, I've got more. Hang on.
Why she's ahead of Frankel, though, at this point. But
she was a really pretty lady.
She was a very pretty lady. And she liked to travel a lot as well.
Because Frankel's like you said, an incredible. He would have been incredible. He was an incredible 10 furlong horse
over whatever trip.
I think we're all in agreement. He's the best horse.
Yeah, but the international at York was the Guineas was good, but the internationals where everyone. I mean, people were applauding 4 furlongs out. So for me, when you say Frankel best performance, I say international, and this is best milers. So for me, Goldikova. I mean, here we go. What else have we got?
Pulled down on a 10 furlong. Blistering success, then basically, is he?
No, he's not getting pulled down. He'd just be top of. He would be top of all these lists if you wanted to play that way.
Yes.
But
if we're narrowing it down to the mile, then.
I mean, Goldikova beat Camford Cliffs, who then gave Frankel a race. Frankel is still
back to him.
I just really liked her, all right, Kate?
You made the case very well.
I really liked her.
It's the age of the iron horse, though, Louis. Just going on from what Jane was saying and sort of the fragility now, we don't see them as much now. We talk about Rock of Gibraltar, 7 successive Group 1s.
Yeah.
I mean, who's able to do that nowadays over a mile? We literally, from our 3-year-olds, we were talking about earlier on ahead of the Sussex Stakes. Are any of them going to be able to produce that?
I mean, I'm looking at Notable Speech and Rosalian to kind of be our flag bearers in the mile division. And
They'd
would
beat
I
each other.
and would I say they can win 7 Group 1s on the bounce? Possibly not.
But they may well be able to run in 7 Group 1s and bounce and just not be good enough. Like Paddington last year was raced very frequently. Yes. It's not a brush stroke against all of the thoroughbreds, but I'm just saying it's a trend that's there that wasn't maybe there in Brigadier Gerard's time, and maybe people weren't as commercially conscious back then. I don't know. But there's another element in the room as well, that when a horse graduates to the stud and becomes a bad stallion, we forget their racing exploits and just think, Henrythenavigator, Canford Cliffs.
That is very true.
There was another top class miler that you mentioned there, and I was like, God. No, Shadwell, no. But you do get a negative connotation beside them in your head, even though they were crack racehorses.
Yes,
and that's another positive in Frankel. It's still early days, and
he's the heir to his father. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it just keeps going, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, I'm so pleased that what would have been more. I know we're going back to Frankel again, but what would have been more disappointing is that if he had gone to stud and been a terrible sire, that would have just. But he wouldn't have.
I mean, the first few, there was a lot. There's a lot of pressure. Was it Cusco? I think was the first one for Gosden to Cunco, sorry. And there was a lot of pressure first. They go, about 5 or 6 horses around. I'm not sure. Or is he gonna? And then 3-year-old season, bang! And since then, it's been remarkable. But yeah, Brigadier. I mean, basically, I really liked her. She's tough as teak. She ran. She just kept winning. She was a pure miler. He's an absolute freak. He should be there, but he wouldn't be there anything else. But I'm wrong.
But
if I was 70 years old and had my youth was watching Brigadier Gerard, fair enough. And Henrythenavigator, he was fine.
He doesn't deserve to be wiped off.
He was very tough and had some very good battles.
Yes.
But Goldikova battered him.
Workmanlike, yeah.
Henrythenavigator
was workmanlike.
Beat him twice. And that was a good duel between them two, but it's not duel of the ages. Rock of Gibraltar, if I'm honest with you, the only thing with Rock of Gibraltar with me, it was slightly I don't know. It was probably slightly just before I was really into top class racing, so I've just kind of just missed it, and that's
okay too.
Slight bias.
Yes,
you're only 17.
It's true. I am 17 times 2.5.
The quick maths there for But again, like we talk about Paddington there, Louis, and what he was able to do. He was dubbed as the new iron horse, and perhaps last season. And again, we had some of that shine knocked off towards the back end of his season. But the thing that we loved about
he ran.
Yeah, because he actually
ran. True.
Yeah.
If he retired after the Sussex, everybody would be like, oh my God.
But then again, she ran and the shine was knocked off. So.
No, but we don't mind horses getting beaten, though. Or do we nowadays?
Well, I think a lot of people do, yeah.
Because we look about all of these horses and their records, and the winning strike rate is just insane. When you look about that 2008 season for Henrythenavigator, even, he carried all before him within that. And to even see that nowadays, we would be hailing that as the next, the next great thing. But now we're kind of damning him a little bit on this. I mean, Ross has literally wiped him off. But
yeah, I am being harsh.
His toys are out of pram.
Out of pram. So Celebration, you're going to rewrite onto.
That was the horses trying to think of.
Yeah, that's the horse. Yeah. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
That's the one that you're going to be putting in then instead. But again, Louis, is that sort of with Paddington? Should it be such a novelty to expect horses to do anything, even to run as much as these horses? And is that why they're on this list? Is because we did get to see them?
We're in a complete different era, and if you want to compare it to a sport, I would compare it to boxing. We don't like seeing a fighter that gets beat. We like to see them undefeated. But back in the day, Muhammad Ali would get beat and come back, and it was amazing. But people are very quick in racing to write horses off. That's what I probably dislike the most. Racing nowadays is so competitive. Like everyone, realistically, I know some Group 1s now are small fields and stuff, but they are very competitive. You still have to be a good horse to win a Group 1, like end of story. And to do it consecutively year in, year out, I think is very hard to do nowadays. And they don't last that long now. They're gone by 4-5 max. And that's just the era we're in, I think.
Yeah. So what nowadays would a horse have to do to be making a list like this for you, Ross?
Well, I mean, let's
What's
take
possible?
Well, for example, let's take Rosalien as an example. If Rosalien won the Sussex Stakes and then came back and won at Ascot, and then came back next year and did the same again in terms of beating the next year's 3-year-olds.
Sussex, Queen Anne.
Yeah, exactly. Even, I don't know, Mogolan, like QE2, whatever it is, you'd have to do that. I think you'd have to do that for 2 seasons at least. You'd have to be your best 3-year-old, the best 4-year-old, and ideally, you'd love to see him come back as 5. But if he does that, he won't. He'll be off. So that minimum, I think.
But I think people always want to push them up in trip.
Yeah.
It's like if Rosalien was amazing over a mile, they'd want to see how good he is over a mile and a quarter.
Yeah.
Like Jane would probably know better, bloodstock-wise, but like, why does he need to do anything different? Like, are we just saying if he is that good or gonna be that good? Why do people always need to see more or prove that he's?
People always want more. It's the nature of people. I suppose from a breeding perspective, it might add an extra leaf, and maybe a stud value might be able to go a notch higher.
So everything is money orientated.
Everything is.
everything's
But fortunately for Rosalien, they, a bit like the Wertheimer brothers, are in a position where they're not actually probably worried about the extra 10 grand that they can charge, because Sheikh Mohammed Obeid is in a very privileged position. And that is probably why there's less pressure on Richard Hannon that he could come back next year.
Yes.
And that's why I have to credit Coolmore for coming back with Auguste Rodin as a 4-year-old. I know the Aga Khan tried it with Vedeni and it didn't work out, but I admire that they bloody well tried it.
Yeah.
And Sheikh Obeid's a good example, actually, because he, above a lot of owners, actually does, if horses get injured or whatever it happens, we'll give him a year, we'll come back at 6, and even your postpones of this world, he's not afraid to race them, which is a feather in Rosalien's cap.
Or to race them against each other as well. Then he's more than happy to race them against each other also, or race them on. But it is that clamour for, people were clamouring for Frankel to go abroad. People were clamouring for Baid more recently then to be stepping up a trip. Didn't quite work out therefore. But again, we talk about these horses as top class milers. We love to see them as the milers, and that
you want them to be crowned world champions. That's what you want.
World champions.
And
more
if they
so than
stay
the
in Britain and Ireland, they will be crowned European champions. They might get the highest rating. Maybe they'll even get an Eclipse Award. But if you're going to be a world champion, you probably have to cross the Atlantic.
Yes. So to get the ultimate crown then for the division.
You can get the crown, but to be remembered.
But to be remembered.
How many horses are remembered?
No, well, Goldikova, there you go. She went and did it 3
at least
times.
5 or 6.
The Breeders' Cup. So there you go. Right, we'll come back around to why
What
she's
trip
number
was
1 now.
Zenyatta running over? 10?
Oh, yes.
Who, sorry?
That's a good shout.
Zenyatta 10
Yeah,
for
10.
a long filly.
So she's not quite falling into our, but
something.
again,
She had the Frankel factor, and the way she was ridden was wow.
yeah.
They're remembered.
But even Goldikova was third to Zarkava. So it was a good era for all those. Anyway,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we're all pretty much confident that Frankel is going to be our number 1 all-time miler for whichever spin we try to put on it, Ross Briley. But of course, for notable. As Jane is just taking it completely on herself for the boards now. Jane is the master of the boards. No boards are safe around here
If it
for
was
doodling.
made of paper, it'd be on fire.
That's it for doodling or getting chucked out of the way or creating her own subdivisions. But Frankel, though, we are crowning, of course, as our top, all-time miler then. But have we got it right, though? Do let us know in the comments section below. But a big thank you to the team for all of their hard work. Ross is without his board.
That's fine. Goldikova, vote Goldikova.
Vote Goldikova, says Ross. But again, thank you so much for watching Inside Track, the debate, brought to you by William Hill. Well, thank you so much for watching Inside Track, the debate, brought to you by William Hill. And if you'd like to go back and watch our last episode where we rank the top 5 flat trainers of all time, click the link in the video. 18+, please remember to gamble responsibly.